Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. Guys, it's cold tonight. It's getting very, very, very cold tonight. I'm just putting that out there with the very varies. It's getting very cold tonight, guys. You better bundle up. Folks, this will be an abbreviated show. It's not going to last 2 hours. I guarantee you that. But I needed to come on the air to talk to you about some things anyway. There's some earthquakes happening. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what is happening in our society, because it's not just affecting those of us here in the United States. It's affecting all of us everywhere. That's why we're here to talk about it tonight. First off, now, some of you may not agree with me, and that's fine. That's totally cool, because it doesn't matter. What does matter is that you get the information from us. Okay? Now, what is going on? Does anybody really know what's going on today? Besides it being the second day after the swearing in of the President of the United States? Unreal. Today, President Melania Trump, J.D. Vance, and his wife Usha went to the National Cathedral today, where a bishop called him on the carpet. He went to a prayer service at the National Cathedral, and the cathedral bishop called him on the carpet. Bishop, let me look at her name again here. Her name is Bishop Marianne Buddha. Marianne Buddha. M-A-R-I-A-N-N Buddha, B-U-D-D-E. She called him on the carpet. She called for President Trump to have mercy for LGBTQ people and children and immigrants that have been unlawfully taken advantage of since President Trump took office. Now, it's immaterial what this bishop thinks. This Bishop Marianne Buddha is a woke bishop of the Catholic Church. She has no business preaching politics, condemning the President of the United States from the pulpit. The President of the United States is only doing what he deems necessary to bring our country more into focus and help our country survive. But Marianne Buddha, the Bishop of the Catholic Church in Washington, D.C., called President Trump on the carpet. Now, it's unreal what she got away with today. It's unreal what she got away with today. Notice the look on President Trump's face here. The Vice President's face. And Usha Vance. Look at Melania Trump's face as well. They were all blown away by this bishop's antics. Unreal. During the National Prayer Service at the National Cathedral, Bishop Marianne Buddha criticized President Trump's policies on immigration and transgender people and transgender children in her sermon. She criticized President Trump's deportation and transgender LGBTQIA policies. She didn't like it. She didn't like it. It's too darn bad what she doesn't like. And I would say that about anyone. I would say that to any clergy. It's too darn bad what you don't like. It doesn't matter at this point in time. We have to take our country back. It's about our country's survival. It's about our spiritual survival. But she doesn't get it. She's woke. She's woke. Today, President Trump fired the head of the U.S. Coast Guard. He fired the head of the U.S. Coast Guard. Let me show you her picture. The Admiral of the U.S. Coast Guard was fired today by President Trump. Incredible. Just incredible. This lady, Lynn Fagan is her name. Lynn Fagan was fired today. Why? Because she also is too woke. She also is too woke. She is the first female leader of the U.S. Armed Forces branch the Coast Guard in American history. The first female leader of the U.S. Coast Guard in American history. Benjamin Huffman, who's the acting Homeland Security Director at this time, he revealed the ousting of Fagan in a memo on Trump's first day in office, saying the four-star admiral was out and Admiral Kevin E. Lundy was in as the service's acting commander. President Trump started his second term with a wave of executive actions and orders and a push to get his top cabinet officials confirmed. Yesterday, Monday, he declared a national border emergency, issuing a sweeping pardon for nearly everyone convicted in the January 6, 2021 Capitol riot, supposed insurrection. As we know, it was not an insurrection at all. That was a pipe dream of Nancy Pelosi's. And the whole riot situation was orchestrated by Nancy Pelosi's not giving President Trump permission to bring in the National Guard. President Trump is a National Guard leader. He's the leader of the armed forces. Yet Nancy Pelosi did not okay the Capitol Police Chief's request for National Guard services on the Capitol grounds. President Trump also called for the National Guard to be on the Capitol grounds as well. But Nancy Pelosi, as head of the House of Representatives at the time, said, oh no, that leaves a very bad picture in everybody's mind. It would be a bad photo op. So Nancy Pelosi decided she wasn't going to do it. Then she dreamt up an insurrection, a riot at the Capitol that never did happen. Now, all of those people that the January 6th committee and Pelosi dreamed up, sending them to jail, is now gone. Probably by the end of today, all of the people that were arrested for January 6th are going to be released. 1,500 people will be released by the end of the day. Unreal what Nancy Pelosi and her critics decided to do. Unreal. But today, President Trump is overhauling everything that Joe Biden did, turning it upside down. President Trump is overhauling how the country deals with immigration, the economy, global health, the environment, and gender. President Trump defended his sweeping pardons for violent offenders from the January 6, 2021 Capitol attack, and commuting the sentences of the Proud Boys and the Oath Keeper members, arguing that they've been treated more unfairly than murderers. Murderers today are not even charged. You have murders that aren't charged all over, President Trump said. You look at what's going on in Philadelphia. Take a look at what's gone on in Los Angeles, in Chicago. Trump's claim that people are not charged for homicide in major U.S. cities, the media says it's false. No, it's absolutely true. We've seen it happen in New York, we've seen it happen in Chicago, and we've seen it happen in Los Angeles. What the media says is false, and we cannot pay attention to the media. The media is supposed to be our checkmate for what goes on in Washington, D.C., but the media's been painting a broad picture of wrongdoing that's gotten away with. What the media has done is false, and we need to make sure we turn the media upside down ourselves. Trump added that the January 6 defendants have already served years in prison, even though many were only recently sentenced, and they served them viciously. It's a disgusting prison. It's been horrible. It's been inhumane. It's been terrible. A very terrible thing in anyone's life. When President Trump was asked by reporters last night about the commutations he gave for leaders of the far-right groups Proud Boys and Oath Keepers, President Trump said, I thought their sentences were ridiculous and excessive. Trump pardoned more than 1,500 people convicted for the roles in the January 6th Capitol Hill attack and commuted 6 sentences of 14 others, all members of either the far-right group, Proud Boys, or Oath Keepers. Now, folks, at one point in time, and I don't know whether they have my membership still, I was a member of the Oath Keepers. You need to remember the Oath Keepers are Christian men. Christian men that are bent on making sure our Constitution survives, making sure our country survives. And yet, Nancy Pelosi, Joseph Biden, and all the other left-wing kingpins have tried to make us seem like bad people. Those people that take oaths to uplift Christ's work, to do the Christ's will. We're told that we don't count. We don't count. Now, in commuting some sentences and completely pardoning people, this includes Stuart Rhodes, who's a former leader of the Oath Keepers. Now, I met Stuart Rhodes in Denver years ago. I believe it was in about 2007, 2008, when I went to an Oath Keepers meeting at the Denver Sports Arena there. And I sat there in the Christian service there in that sports arena, and there was nothing wrong with it. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. It was a Christian meeting of men. And the stadium there was full. The stadium was, I don't know whether it's still called the Pepsi Center or not, but that's where it was held. Now, Stuart Rhodes has served the longest sentence of 18 years for his role in the supposed riot. Rhodes left a federal prison in Cumberland, Maryland early this morning. Relatives of Enrique Tarrio, former leader of the Proud Boys, who received the longest sentence of 22 years for some, quote, seditious conspiracy, unquote, said that they had expected his release today. Trump pardoned more than 1,500 people convicted in their roles of the January 6th attack. And again, commuted sentencing of 14 others. Now, what has happened? What has happened? Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Liz Cheney, Pencil Neck Adam Schiff, and Mr. Naylor, Congressman Naylor. Every one of those people that were on the January 6th committee, the congressional committee that Nancy Pelosi put up, have all been pardoned by who else? Joseph Robinette Biden. Biden pardoned all of them. So President Trump could not investigate them and convict them of criminal sentences. Unreal. Now, let's talk about TikTok. Okay? I came on the air Saturday and talked about TikTok. President Trump today said he is open to Elon Musk buying TikTok one day after the president issued an executive order that halts enforcement of a congressional ban on the mega popular video app for 75 days. He's issued a halt to the enforcement of the TikTok ban for 75 days. Elon Musk, Mr. O'Leary, and several others have offered money to buy TikTok. Musk has emerged as a potential buyer. The application is set to shut down, but now it is on hold. Now, for those of you that still want to get into TikTok, you can't do it. It's not available on Google Play. It's not available in the Play Store. Those of you who did not join TikTok or for whatever reason got rid of TikTok, you can't get back in until the sale has been approved and a new buyer here in the United States has been approved. Okay? President Trump said he's open to another tech giant to acquire TikTok. Larry Ellison, the chief technology officer at Oracle. Ellison was present at the White House with President Trump. He says, I have the right to make a deal. So the deal I'm thinking about is Larry. Let's negotiate in front of the media. Now, President Trump also added that he met with wonders of TikTok and said that the company should sell to someone here in the United States and give half the sale to the U.S. government. They'll have something that's actually more valuable because they have the ultimate partner, and the United States will make it very worthwhile for the company to survive in terms of work permits and everything else. Let's get back to the executive orders. Trump issued an executive order today, and well, actually started yesterday. Okay? One of the executive orders will end automatic citizenship for children whose parents are foreign nationals, whether they're here legally or not. Today, federal agencies in the U.S. District Court of Massachusetts claiming that order violates the Constitution. The ACLU filed a separate legal challenge in New Hampshire on behalf of immigrant advocacy organizations on similar grounds. It said they would upend a foundational aspect of the United States of America, that anyone born here is from here. That's true. That's true. But what has happened? Let me just remind you all of what has happened. Again, I want to take you back to the 90s when I was a federal police officer. I was called to the border. Hispanic women from Mexico and other countries came to our borders just waiting to have a baby so they could be admitted to the United States. I remember time and time again getting calls to the border to assist and help transport pregnant women to a hospital, either in Chula Vista or nearby community near the border, transporting them to a hospital so they could have a baby here in the United States and stay here in this country. That's what they did. Many times, many times, the women were not even ready to have the baby, but they were acting like it. There were medical personnel at the border who examined the women and sent them back into Mexico. However, there were those women who were right on the edge of having a baby, and they were put in the back of ambulances, and I helped escort ambulance after ambulance to different hospitals along the border of the United States. The executive order is called Protecting the Value and Meaning of American Citizenship. It would prevent federal agencies from issuing Social Security cards, passports, or welfare benefits to U.S.-born children in a sweeping reinterpretation of the 14th Amendment, which guarantees citizenship to anyone born in the United States. The Presidential Personnel Office is actively in the process of identifying and removing over 1,000 presidential appointees from the previous administration. I'm going to repeat that. This is such a big deal. In case you don't understand what is going on here in the United States, Biden, good old Biden, he wanted to bring people here into our workforce, in the federal government workforce, and just keep them there. He didn't care whether even people came here into their offices. All you had to do is be on the federal payroll. To do that, some supervisors with federal agencies were asking their people to just sign in on their computers. Signing in on their computers would say they are working here, that they are working here, whether they are or not. I saw it happen. I saw it happen, ladies and gentlemen. It's wrong. What has happened in the federal workforce is wrong. Okay? The Presidential Personnel Office is actively processing, or in the process, I should say, of identifying and removing over 1,000 presidential appointees from previous administrations who are not aligned with his vision to make America great again. Isn't that what we want? Isn't that what the mandate said that Trump wanted? That we wanted for the administration of the U.S. government to make America great again? Trump is going through personnel right now. The personnel office is getting rid of them, firing them. Trump said he plans to remove over 1,000 appointees from the administration of former President Biden. Trump said, quote, "Let this serve as a notice of dismissal." Now, he also named General Milley. Remember General Milley that did not agree with President Trump, who was also a woke general, allowing LGBTQ movement to gain foothold within the military services? That's exactly right. President Trump fired him today. Alan Andres, his former Iran envoy, Brian Hook, and former Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, who Biden appointed to Export Council. Trump said, "You're fired." Executive orders. Withdrawing the United States from the Paris Climate Accords. Implementing a federal hiring freeze as well. Why are we withdrawing from the from the Paris Climate Accords? Because it was all trumped up. That's not a pun. The climate accords were to make the United States look weak, that we were not doing our share when it came to air pollution. Yet the United States was at the top of the list for the cleanest countries, while China and others were the worst, and continue to be the worst. And yet, the Paris Climate Accords said nothing to China and the other countries who are really polluting our air throughout the world. President Trump has implemented a federal hiring freeze until he can get rid of the people that don't belong, and also to bring back the people that work at home and didn't come into the office. I saw that happen. When I was working within the federal government years ago, there was an old saying from the Human Resource Office of the federal government in San Diego: "We can fire you right now. However, every day that you're here, it gets harder and harder for us to fire you, but we can still fire you. We just have to work at it." Well, in this case, that cotton picking idea that you can stay within the federal workforce and really not do anything and just get a paycheck, that's over. It's over. It's completely over. Also, President Trump signed an order withdrawing the United States of America from the World Health Organization. That's one of the biggest presidential orders that we can have. Why? Because the World Health Organization was telling us what we could do with our health insurance, what we couldn't do. It was telling us which doctor we could see and which doctor we could not see. The World Health Organization was literally limiting our health care, not helping us. World Health Organization also was telling us that the bird flu was going to take over the world. World Health Organization doesn't know what they're talking about. They were just another oligarch that was trying to overpower the United States government. It's not going to happen. The United States government is going to remain a sovereign nation. It's not going to let the World Health people or any other organization take us over. That is gone. That is gone. Again, Trump also signed the birthright citizenship order, limiting birthright citizenship. He signed an order tackling the federal banning of TikTok. Trump signed an order halting offshore wind expansion. Remember, if you heard the president's address when he accepted the inauguration, he laid his hand on the Bible and became inaugurated, and then he addressed the country. Remember, he talked about the whales getting hit with the wings of the windmills out at sea. That's true. I did the research to find out it's true. Not just that. Many times those windmills get going and they actually stir up their own weather out there. It's unreal what those windmills are doing out there. And they're not really producing that much electricity at all. They're more of a hazard. They're a hazard to shipping, and they're also a hazard to the wildlife in the oceans. Okay? He's halting offshore wind lease sales and pausing the issuance of permits and approvals and loans for offshore and onshore wind projects. Trump has signed an executive order temporarily suspending all U.S. foreign assistance programs for 90 days, pending reviews to determine whether they are aligned with his policy goals. Trump also signed a memo today that would grant immediate security clearance to whomever he wants for 6 months. Whomever Trump wants in the White House for 6 months, he's going to have security clearances granted by the FBI to allow those people to work. Now, I want to go back and talk about what happened during the Clinton administration when that happened. During the Clinton administration, Clinton also did the same thing, except with the Clinton administration, President Clinton said that he could have whoever he wants in the White House whenever he wanted them there, and gave everybody security clearances. Now, if you go back and read a book, okay? It's a book I have in my library here. The book was written by a former FBI agent that was assigned to the Clinton White House, specifically to grant security clearances or expel those people out of office. President Trump came down hard on him, telling him he had to do what he was told or to get out. Unreal. Unreal. And we know what happened during the Clinton administration. We had people smoking pot in the White House. We had drug offenders. We had women beaters. All these kinds of people that you wouldn't even think would be in the White House were there. Unreal. Now, what else has President Trump done? Also, I want to also say about that is that President Trump said this move was necessary due to a backlog created by the Biden administration in the White House in the processing of security clearances of individuals hired to work in the executive office of President Biden. Trump signed an executive order on immigration that simply restores what policies he had when he took office in January 2017. Trump wants to end federal grants to sanctuary jurisdictions or states and local governments that limit cooperation with immigration authorities. The White House maintains that these sanctuary cities are breaking the law and that forbid those cities and states who forbid interference in interfering with federal law enforcement officers. That's going to end. that's going to end. Those cities and states must allow federal law enforcement to come in and take those illegal people, starting with terrorists and gangs, out of this country. And that's what's going on. But Tom Homan, who is a border czar, today suspended his activities in Chicago because someone in Chicago leaked the information where Customs border agents were and what they were doing and when they were going to do it. So Tom Homan temporarily suspended that action until they can make a surprise entrance and take care of business. That's what Chicago does. Chicago has been known to interfere, and that's what's happening. That's what's happening. Linda Covington says that President Trump was meeting today with AI here in the United States in the Oval Office. Yes, he was. He was meeting with Mr. Moss from Japan and two other dignitaries as well that were attempting to make sure that we could have legal AI services on our computers. Legal services, not the illegalities that were being had under the Biden administration. And I know I've seen several occasions already where AI was imitating President Trump. AI was also imitating people like you and I. It was wrong. President Trump is going to overcome that and make sure AI services us, not us servicing AI. Okay? That's what they hope. Stupid doggone YouTube keeps interfering with this program. Sage Pup says President Trump has made the entire DC swamp release chunks in their boots or in their shorts, as Sage Pup put it. You're right. The doggone swamp is upset. The doggone swamp is worried they will no longer have jobs. And President Trump said goodbye to over 1,000 people today, saying you're fired. Okay? President Trump also wants negotiations with state and local governments to deputize local police to enforce immigration laws, known as 287G agreements, after a section of 1996 immigration law. That happened on many occasions in San Diego in previous years. The order restores deportation requirements and criteria to pursue everyone in the country that's here illegally, not just those with serious criminal records, those deemed national security or public safety threats, and those who recently crossed the border. They're going to be gone. After less than a week, after Biden made Cuba part of preferred status of countries in this world, President Trump put a kibosh on it. Cuba's not back here in the United States to be. Okay? It's back on the list of state sponsors of terrorism. State sponsor of terrorism. Just last week, Biden issued 78 executive orders and actions that Trump revoked today and yesterday. Memorandum removing Cuba from the list of state sponsors of terrorism. Trump first added, former President Barack Obama had removed it. President Trump added it to the list in January 21, 5 years after Barack Obama had removed it. Cuba's also done a lot of other things that were in violation of agreements. We believe the present administration in Cuba has released audio waves that damage people's hearings, that damage people's brains. Several people in the U.S. Embassy have had problems with radio waves bothering them. That's just another way that Cuba has been a terrorist in their country. Terrorism against the United States of America. Unreal. Cuba's announced that it would release more than 500 political prisoners after Biden removed it from the list. Now it's unclear whether Cuba is still intending to release the political prisoners following Trump's decision. Nancy Pelosi is still in the House of Representatives, Democrat from California, from San Francisco. Former Speaker of the House. Slammed Trump's pardons and commutations related to the January 6th attack at the Capitol. That's because she was responsible for doing it. In a post to X, Pelosi called Trump's actions outrageous, an outrageous insult to our justice system, and the heroes who suffered personal scars and emotional trauma as they protected the Capitol, the Congress, and the Constitution. Among the actions Trump signed tonight was a declaration of national emergency, declaration of a national energy emergency to enable additional resource extraction where he could refer to as a big one. That means you can do whatever you want to do or have to do to take care of that problem. And we do that kind of emergency. The declaration permits Trump to boost U.S. energy production, including drilling in Alaska. Trump signed an executive order withdrawing from the World Health Organization, like I said earlier. That was one of my big deals that I wanted to have happen. Today it did. And that's a big one. That's a huge one, guys. Trump removed funding from the United States to WHO. Trump removed the funding to the World Health Organization and compared it with the amount of money sent to China. Trump revoked Biden's landmark executive order on artificial intelligence. Biden's broad order signed in October 2023 was aimed at addressing risks and opportunities around the expanding technology. It called for several safety measures, including federal guidance and guidelines to American companies that make AI content, called for several safety measures, including federal guidelines for American companies that make the AI content, to watermark it, to make sure it's clear it isn't made as a human. They want to make sure that the AI is not made as a human. Okay? Trump signed the executive order creating the Department of Government Efficiency. Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. Elon Musk, who is expected to helm the Doge and is going to get a West Wing office. Trump said he will get an office for about 20 people that they are hiring to make sure that Doge gets implemented, to make sure there's really executive actions happening, and the country coming under greater supervision, where the country's going to make money, not just throw bad money after good. He says, we have a problem in this country. You sign an executive order and it doesn't get done for 6 months, Trump said. Trump has signed the National Emergency Declaration at the southern border. He did that yesterday evening, declaring a national emergency at the southern border, marking one of a flurry of executive orders that he has taken so far as he attempts to stem the flow of illegal immigration, closing the border. Yesterday, Yesterday about 1 o'clock, the El Paso Bridge, the Bridge of Americas as it's called, shut down. Shut down. That was one of the first steps that they needed to do to shut off illegal immigration. They shut down the Bridge of Americas in El Paso. Okay? He's also signed an executive order declaring drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. Drug cartels are now labeled as foreign terrorist organizations. I'm happy about that. I'm ecstatic. As a former law enforcement officer, we need that to happen, to stem the flow of drugs in our country. Linda Covington says we want the Panama Canal back now. I totally agree. And President Trump today said he's working on it. He said he's working on it. He's going to take the Panama Canal back. Now, for those of you that don't know what happened to the Panama Canal, we built it. We built it about 70, 80 years ago. What has happened to it? First, Jimmy Carter turned it over to the country of Panama to run it. Panama has now invited China to run the Panama Canal. Panama and China have increased the amount of money that it takes for a ship to go through the Panama Canal, and yet we build it. We sacrifice American lives. I believe it was some 40,000 people died building the Panama Canal. And yet, the government of Panama and China is running it. And who's paying for it? The United States of America. That's going to come to a screeching halt. President Trump is going to take it back and bring it under United States control and make sure that our ships do not pay the majority of the tonnage going through the Panama Canal. He's going to limit the amount of money that we have to pay to traverse our ships through the canal. I believe that's a good thing. China has no business being there. Yes, we all know why China wanted to be there. China wanted to put their ships through there. China wanted absolute control. Well, guess what? China doesn't get to be there. China doesn't get to be there at all. Now, so there's something else that you guys are talking about. Here in North Carolina, we have a lot of people still here that are hungry. People that are freezing to death. Babies freezing to death in this extreme cold. Trump is going to visit North Carolina as well. He's going to clear up the mess that Biden started. The Biden-Harris started. The FEMA that was brought in didn't do their darn job. President Trump is going to clear it up. He's going to clear it up rather rapidly. On Friday, President Trump is going to California to oversee the disaster there and make his own recommendations to turn that around as well. It can't continue as it is. It can't continue as it is. People's homes are still burning down in California. The fires are still out of control. After 2.5 weeks, those fires are still out of control. Yes, I understand we've had bad weather. We've had high winds. Yes, that contributes to it. But Biden's mismanagement, and not just Biden, Governor Newsom, NWS.gov. I started calling him that long before anybody else did. Newsom has to come to a screeching halt. Yes, there is another recall notice on Newsom's governorship. They must take him out. I don't mean any harm. but I mean he must be removed from office. He's holding California back. He's getting money paid to him and his family, taking money that isn't his. It has to stop. It has to stop. Herman is saying we need the Panama Canal in Greenland for strategic assets. You're absolutely right. We absolutely do. Most of the people that live in Greenland, 55,000 people live there. Most of them also want to be independent. They could become a state. They could become a state of their own and have the United States protecting them. Now, if the truth be known, the United States already is protecting them. Only because we're there. And we must protect what is ours as well as what is God's. God's people. God's people. We cannot let China and we cannot let Russia take Greenland. Never, ever. Never, ever. Now, I want to go over all of the executive orders that President Trump has issued. Just hang with me for just a second here. Here's a list of 42 of the 200 executive orders that President Trump has done. Number 1, declaring a national emergency at the southern border. Number 2, designating Mexican drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. 3, reinstituting the Remain in Mexico policy. Reinstituting the Remain in Mexico policy. Now, the President of Mexico has said that she will help do that. She will help the people stay in Mexico. Ending birthright citizenship that we talked about. Defending women from gender ideology extremism. Making sure that these gender crazy men, these mixed up gender men, don't interfere with women's sports again. And they don't go in women's private places, i.e. restrooms. If they do it, a woman should complain, and when they complain, they can call the police and file a legal complaint against that individual. These mixed up men, and there's also mixed up women, need to be taken to psychological treatment centers. That's what they used to do. But now they think they can rule everybody else. They can tell us what to do. Wrong. Wrong. We must defend our women. We must defend our wives, our daughters, and our sisters. This cannot continue. Eliminating diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI programs in federal agencies. That's one of the other things that President Trump is doing in Washington, D.C. as we speak. Washington, D.C. through President Biden and Harris have instituted these DIA departments within agencies. President Trump is demolishing those DEI departments. Withdrawing from the Paris Climate Accords. The Green New Deal is over. The Green New Deal that the Squad and AOC wanted to have happen is over. Declaring a national energy emergency. Drill, baby, drill. Reversing electrical vehicle mandates. Those mandates are said by Biden that United States citizens could have whatever vehicle they wanted, but they had to have electrical vehicles. Wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Implementing Schedule F for federal employees. Schedule F is a taxing system within the federal government for federal employees. Relocating U.S. Space Command to Alabama. Pardoning individuals connected in relationship to the January 6th events. We talked about that. Halting federal funding for abortion services. Biden allowed it to happen. Halting federal money for abortion services. Not going to happen anymore. Suspending security clearances for individuals linked to Hunter Biden's scandal. Taking security clearances from people that were related to Hunter Biden's scandal. Those people have no right having security clearances, in my opinion. Those people are a threat to our country. Establishing a federal Bitcoin reserve. Now, I don't know too much about Bitcoin. I'm not one to talk to about Bitcoin because I don't know anything about it. But Bitcoin has gotten to be a big deal. I've seen it offered on the stock exchange. I've seen it offered all over the internet. I probably won't even dabble in Bitcoin at all. But Bitcoin is getting to be a big deal, and there's been a lot of people that are making money on Bitcoin. He's also doing something that should have been done a long time ago. He's going to release classified documents on the murders of JFK, Robert Fitzgerald Kennedy, and Martin Luther King immediately. We should see those documents very shortly. And be aware, it's not going to be nice. We're going to see CIA involvement in those killings. He's reversing AI regulations, imposing tariffs on imports from China, Mexico, and Canada. Now, I want to say this. There is a lady that used to work for Trudeau. She's visited multiple times with President Trump at Mar-a-Lago. Now, she's trying to help President Trump. She's trying to help President Trump with Canada. Trying to make sure the citizens in Canada get their fair due. And if it happens, and yes, there's some controversy with it, but if it happens, that Canada would become the 51st state of this country. The 51st state of the United States. There's a lot of people that want it. There's a lot of people that don't. It remains to be seen what happens with that. But at least President Trump is trying to help the people with Canada as well. He's reinstating the ban on transgender military service. Like I said earlier, the Admiral of the Coast Guard has been fired. The Admiral of the Coast Guard has been fired, terminated. Other people within the military who are transgender will probably also be fired. Now, with that said, the military will also not pay for transgender surgeries as well. That is over. Transgender surgeries will not happen within the military. And the federal government will not pay for transition surgeries at all. Prohibiting transgender women from participating in women's sports. Halting government offshore wind leases, as I said. One of the things I find a little bit controversial, and I'm not sure whether it will happen or not, but President Trump is renaming the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. Renaming the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. As I said yesterday, he's also reverting Mount Denali to Mount McKinley. McKinley is the United States 15th president. It was Mount McKinley long before it was Denali. It's in Denali National Park. But good old Biden, or good old Obama took Mount McKinley off and put it as Mount Denali. It's going to remain Mount McKinley now. President Trump is freezing federal workforce hiring. Freezing federal workforce hiring for the time being. After he fired 1,000 people today. They're also going to go through and make sure that the federal workforce actually comes to work. And then, at that point, they're going to assess where the federal workforce is and whether they need to hire people again. He's going to ease regulations on oil and gas production. He's going to open up the Alaska Oil Reserve as well. It should have been done a long time ago, but President Biden put a kibosh on it. He's pausing Congress's TikTok ban to seek a U.S. buyer. TikTok is worth a lot of money. A lot of money. And remains to be seen what's going to happen. Renee Sebi says she never called Mount Denali. I think, if I'm not mistaken, you also called it Mount McKinley, as I did. I really didn't care what Obama did. Obama was wrong. Period. Obama was wrong about a lot of things. Trump is reversing the Biden area immigration policies. He's instituted an emergency order on the southern border to stop illegal immigration. Renee Seppi says she's hoping North Carolina's Fort Liberty is reinstated as Fort Bragg again. I agree. That would be a good thing. He's pulling out of the World Health Organization. We talked about that a little bit ago. The World Health Organization was trying to take over the country. Tell us who we could see as doctors. Tell us when we could see doctors, when we couldn't. And also telling us we had to get this shot and that shot. Also telling the United States that there was a bird flu going on when it's not happening. It's not happening. Only person that's doing that is that idiot over in California, Governor Newsom. That's also going to change, I believe. Okay? Pulled out of the World Health Organization. He's eliminating federal funding for DEI programs. Today, he's abolishing DEI offices in federal government. Abolishing the DEI offices in federal government. Just like they ought to do in Los Angeles with Los Angeles Fire Department. The DEI department in Los Angeles Fire Department needs to be torn apart and done away with. Unreal. He's reforming the criminal justice system, ending birthright citizenship, banning critical race theory in federal agencies, banning critical race theory in federal agencies. Now, if you remember, Biden and Obama tried to establish critical race theory in our schools. What a crapshoot that was. What a crapshoot that was. Now, something that you guys just talked about with funding the UN. Ray Spur says, demanding increased NATO contributions and decreasing money to the United Nations. Decreasing funding to the United Nations. They actually need to kick the United Nations out of the country. Yes, they're going to defund the United Nations, but they also need to kick the United Nations out once and for all. Confronting China on trade practices. President Trump is in the process of doing that as well. Ending the war in Ukraine. President Trump is trying to do that. President Zelensky has wanted to meet with President Trump about ending the war. President Trump has already ended the funding to Ukraine. Last Friday, Biden sent the last pallet of money over to Zelensky. That's not going to happen ever again. The money that Zelensky's been getting, that's gone right back to Biden has been laundered. That's one reason why the Biden crime family was absolved of all wrongdoing. One of the last things done minutes before President Biden lost office, he pardoned his entire family because he knew what would happen. President Trump would find the Biden crime family guilty, and arrests were coming. President Trump is supporting law enforcement. He is promoting school choice and also sending the education back to the control of the states. He's going to send education back to the control of the states. Before the end of his 4-year term, he will abolish the Department of Education. He's going to restrict refugee admissions. He's going to restrict refugee admissions. Again, he's going to control the border. He's going to increase federal focus on fentanyl trafficking to stop fentanyl from coming into this country. Again, that has to do with the gangs, that has to do with the drug cartels. He's going to also launch a national infrastructure plan to make sure our national infrastructure, bridges and highways, are taken care of. Joe Shinpla is saying, can you pardon when there's no conviction? I don't think so. I also am not familiar with that kind of law. But Biden pardoned all of his kids, his entire family. Even his nieces and nephews have been part of the laundering of money. When China sent money to the Biden crime family, one of his nieces and nephews was in charge of funneling that money through accounts. So Biden pardoned his entire family from any kind of prosecution. Unreal. Don Patokas here saying in the chat, there's a huge laundry list of things to do. Absolutely there is. President Trump has his hands full. President Trump has his hands full of a lot of deals. But President Trump also has a working workforce to help him accomplish what he's going to do. Wallace says, can you pardon crimes against humanity? No, I don't believe you can. Yet that's what Biden attempted to do. Crimes against humanity. True. Now I've gone through most of the list of things that Trump is trying to do. That's only a quarter of the number of things that President Trump's trying to accomplish. If you guys want me to, in future episodes of this program, we can also discuss this list of things that President Trump is going to do. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that at all. The rest of this program is going to be devoted to earthquakes. I'm going to bring up the USGS map now. Yes, it's a map that I don't like. Yes, I am going to be hoping to use another map that will give us a greater influence on what earthquakes are happening. That way we know what's going on. The first thing I want to do is this. Okay? As you can see, there's an earthquake over here on the New Madrid Fault. This earthquake here in Missouri. Now you need to remember this. Missouri is a center part of the New Madrid Fault Zone. The New Madrid Fault Zone starts at the Gulf of Mexico and goes north all the way up to the Great Lakes and over into Ohio. Here in Ozark, Missouri, or not Ozark, Ozura, Missouri, excuse me. We have a 2.4 minor earthquake here, Ozura, Missouri, the center part of the New Madrid Fault. And I assure you, this is not the only earthquake here. Again, the USBS is not telling us all the earthquakes. They don't want us to know. They want us to think that nothing's happening. But I can assure you that the Gulf of Mexico is very busy. The Gulf of Mexico is very, very busy. Okay? I want to go now over into the Gulf of California here. Okay? Why am I going here? Because this is one of the larger earthquakes. This is a 4.5 on the San Andreas Fault here in the Gulf of California. This is just opposite of Cabo. This is just east of Cabo San Lucas, 119 kilometers southwest of Las Arenas, Mexico. A 4.5 earthquake that I believe started out as a 4.7 and downgraded it. A 4.5 earthquake here. Okay? You can see Southern California full of earthquakes. Guess what? This is only the beginning. What you're seeing here is only the beginning. Okay? Only the beginning. USGS is hardly showing anything here in the Imperial Valley of California, just north of the U.S.-Mexican border. Not showing anything. I can tell you this. There are over 500 earthquakes in the Imperial Valley today, stretching north to the north part of the Salton Sea, going south to the border. 500 earthquakes there. And the USGS is only admitting to 232 earthquakes worldwide. There's far more earthquakes than that. Over here in San Diego County, this is the city of Julian, 18 kilometers east-southeast of Julian. Julian is the apple capital of San Diego. They have snow in their mountains. This is a 1.1 tremor here in Julian, California, East San Diego County. While we're talking about San Diego City, we have an earthquake here. This is just south of San Diego City. South of San Diego City. This is actually on the spit of land uniting San Diego County with Coronado Island. Okay? This is over here in the water, in the harbor area of San Diego Harbor. This is a 1.0 tremor here. 1.0 tremor. They say this is northwest of Imperial Beach, California. No, it is west of Imperial Beach, California. West of Imperial Beach right here. Folks, this is Imperial Beach. It's not northwest of anywhere but Imperial Beach right here. Just west of Imperial Beach here. Now, Coronado Island is not an island. It's not an island. It was built to house people. It is an artificial island. It was a landfill island. They built it for housing people working for the North Island Naval Air Station. They built a military air station there for the Navy. All up and down this spit of land. Yes, there are homes here. Very expensive homes here. And some of these homes have piers that house small yachts, small boats and stuff. But right here, this is homes here, but right next to it is the Navy. This is the U.S. Naval Station here. It belongs to the submarine base, Subbase San Diego. The SEALs also train here. The SEAL teams also train here. I also did some training with the SEALs when I was in San Diego, even though I was not military. Then we continue north up here to the island here. Subs also come in here. Submarines also come in here. I used to fish here until I found out that we had nuclear waste here in the water, and I stopped fishing here. This is Coronado, California. Coronado, California. Guess what? Right there. This is Coronado Naval Station. Coronado Air Station right here. Up over on the other side of the air station What do they have here? What do you think that they have here over on the north side of the air station? Can anybody tell me? Delete funds is saying, or asking, is this a barrier island? No, it's not. This is an artificial island. This is made with landfill. They bring our ships in here. They bring our great big aircraft carriers here to North Island Naval Air Station. North Island Naval Air Station here. Our great big carrier forces here. USS Abraham Lincoln. The Enterprise was here also at one time. The Enterprise, the Lincoln, and one other aircraft carrier here. And I believe the Lincoln is here after it has come in from duty here in the Middle East. Right there. This is USS Abraham Lincoln in port at Naval Station Coronado. Yes, the Connie was also there. I am Planet Hermit. The USS Constellation was there as well. Yes, it was. I went aboard Connie on a tour of Connie years ago with my father. My father used to be in the Navy. He was a high-ranking officer. Well, he was a low-ranking officer. He was a chief warrant officer. Okay? My dad took us on tours of the aircraft carriers when they came in. Our entire family, our cousins and aunts and uncles were on board Coronado here on the ships here when they came in. When I worked over at Naval Station San Diego, when I was a federal officer here at Naval Station San Diego, I used to also come on board ships here. I took my kids on board several ships here at Naval Station San Diego. My kids thought it was a lot of fun. My kids thought it was a lot of fun. Now, when our police department first started, our office was here on Naval Station San Diego. Right here. See that building? Looks like a big U? That was our former police station. The federal police are now in downtown San Diego. But that U building right there was our police department. Now, Delete Funds is saying that he's really impressed with my SEAL background. Let me tell you guys, when you are a federal police officer that is also assigned to help protect military property, you end up working with SEAL teams all the time. Why? Because SEAL teams are also assigned to help protect the military bases. Let me tell you something. We had what they called red flag training. Red flag training. Now, we talked about red flag training in regards to the fires. This is different. Red flag training with the military was SEAL team members were assigned to try to attack the station, trying to get within the military base. And together with the SEAL teams, we helped protect the base from the incursions. Several SEAL team members posed as terrorists and tried to climb the fences at Naval Station San Diego. And quite honestly, one of the SEAL team members almost got shot one night. One of the SEAL team members almost got shot because he was not obeying our orders. We gave the SEAL team members orders to stop doing what they were doing. And when they were ordered by all of us on the base to stop coming into the base, they should have given up. But this one SEAL team member almost got shot because he decided our orders that we were giving him were not valid. And he almost died that night. One of our military members and his DOD federal police partner ended up running to the fence and bounced him on the ground. Yanked him on the off the fence and bounced his sorry butt on the ground. Yes, he got hurt. Yes, he got hurt. But we were there to protect the base and to protect other federal government buildings all around San Diego County. That's what we were there to do. So yes, we worked around the SEALs operations and other naval operations that they had here. We also worked around FBI people. We worked around the CIA, the National Security Agency as well. Now, let me back this map out a little bit. Okay? Let's leave the naval station, go into downtown San Diego. Okay? Downtown San Diego is in itself a threat. It's a huge threat area. Now, what we're looking at right now here at the harbor outlet here, okay? Right here is the San Diego Convention Center. Okay? You're looking at the airport there, but right here is San Diego Convention Center. In 1984, San Diego welcomed home the GOP. The Republican Party had its August meeting here in 1984 to elect then Senator, I can't remember his name now. I was going to tell you and I can't remember his name. He was running for president. Now, when he was doing that, the San Diego Convention Center was the GOP headquarters for when they were in San Diego. Yes, Delete Funds, NCIS was there too. We worked with NCIS a lot. I got assigned to NCIS cases, and I had NCIS officers assigned to cases that I operated. So yes, I worked with the NCIS as well. But again, we got assigned to help protect the convention center here in downtown San Diego. Because who was there? Congressmen, senators, and even the person that was running for president of the United States at the time, Bob Dole. All of a sudden his name come back, Bob Dole. Okay? Yes, I helped protect Bob Dole. Unreal. I am Hermit. I'm Planet Hermit says at Fiesta Island. No, not at Fiesta Island. I fished at Fiesta Island in San Diego. I partied with my children on Fiesta Island. We had bonfires with friends of mine on Fiesta Island. Did a lot of crazy things there. Had a good time. In fact, yes, there was a couple times I helped patrol Fiesta Island. We're asked to help out there. See how I was out at Fiesta Island as well. I forgot about that. I think Fiesta Island's out here. I think this is Fiesta Island here as I remember. Demon Catman says he thought he saw Nessie on Holiday in the Bay. Oh, really? I would have remembered that if I had seen him. I never saw the Loch Ness Monster at Holiday Bay. Unreal. Sage Pup said he hadn't heard about Bob Dole in years. I agree. That's why I first couldn't remember his name. But yes, I met Bob Dole and many other congressmen and stuff. I had dinner with Walter Cronkite. I had dinner with the ABC News executives. Unreal. Unreal. I was invited to have dinner with the NBC news crew, and Walter Cronkite just happened to be there with CBS, and so I got to sit with him. In fact, I sat next to him at that dinner with the news crews in San Diego during the 1984 GOP convention there. It was unreal. It was unreal. But anyway, yes, these are USGS Google Maps. Okay? An earthquake over here in what do they call that? It's not Coronado Island. It's Coronado. I can't remember what they call that spit of land now. Darn it. Anyway, down here over in Imperial, in the town of Imperial in San Diego. Then one other here up the coastline. Right up here. This is another 1.8 here. 1.8 tremor up here at Camp Pendleton. Now, what this might be, what this 1.8 tremor here might be at Camp Pendleton, is the Marine Corps stages activities here along the coastline. So this may actually not be just a tremor. This could actually be ordnance that is fired at Camp Pendleton. That's happened before. That's happened before. But look where that tremor is. See where that tremor is, guys? That is part of the Rose Canyon Fault. This is part of the Rose Canyon Fault here. The Rose Canyon Fault comes out of Los Angeles here. The Rose Canyon Fault comes out of Los Angeles here. Let me come up here. I believe it comes out of the area around Huntington Beach, Newport Beach right here. Then it goes all the way down to Encinitas, California, where it goes inland through Encinitas, California into downtown San Diego. Then the Rose Canyon Fault ends over in San Diego Bay. The Rose Canyon Fault is due as 7.0, 7.5 quake. The Rose Canyon can have a 7.0 to 7.8 earthquake. Okay? But again, here, off Camp Pendleton, they had a 1.8 tremor. Over here, north of Los Angeles, this is MacArthur Park. MacArthur Park. My wife was born just west of MacArthur Park at a hospital here. Okay? MacArthur Park. Yes, we have quite a few earthquakes here in LA and San Diego County. We were going to talk about those tomorrow. We're going to talk about these earthquakes in Southern California tomorrow. There's a whole bunch of them. A whole bunch of them. Further north up here, Monterey Bay. Monterey Bay. Just east of Monterey Bay here on the San Andreas Fault, right next to the San Andreas Fault. This is Gilroy, California again. Gilroy, California has had 5.0, 5.6 earthquakes. Today, this is a 2.6. Gilroy hasn't had a large earthquake here in a lot of years. I do believe that Gilroy, California is gearing up for a large earthquake. For those of you in the San Francisco Bay Area, I believe Gilroy, California is gearing up for a very large earthquake. Okay? South of there, this is Chular, California. This is 1.6 tremor here. 1.6 tremor just west of what? The San Andreas Fault. The San Andreas Fault. Now, we can go north here. We can go north. San Francisco Bay. East of the bay. Blackhawk, California. Blackhawk, California is on what fault? The Hayward Fault. This is also 1.6 tremor here. We go north to the north end of the San Francisco Bay. Black Point, Greenpoint, California. Black Point, Greenpoint, California. They have a lot of earthquakes here. This is just one more. This is a 2.0 earthquake. This is a 2.0 earthquake here. San Francisco is having earthquakes, and USGS is not showing all of them. The San Francisco area is having earthquakes, and the USBS is not showing them all. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Now, let's back out of San Francisco Bay. 100 miles north of San Francisco is the geysers. The geysers. The geysers is here in Sonoma County, California. It's here that men have dug into the Clear Lake volcano. They've dug into the Clear Lake volcano right here to the upper magma chambers. They're harvesting steam from this volcano right here. They're harvesting steam carried by pipes down here to the geysers area. The steam powers turbines. The steam is here powering turbines to generate electricity here in the geysers facility. All kinds of electricity here. Gigawatts. Gigawatts upon gigawatts of electricity here produced in the geysers facility. Every day. Every day. Right here, let's zoom into this. This is one of the turbine facilities. Each bay of turbines here is a 9-turbine facility. This is an 18-turbine facility here. Or this earthquake here. This earthquake right here, and the one just north of there, or south, well, north of there. Both of these are imprints where the holes are dug into the volcano. Okay, right here. This is a 0.8 tremor microquake here. 0.8 microquake. This earthquake just north of there, this is 0.8 also. Now, everywhere where there are drill points are man-made earthquake faults. Each and every drill point here are man-made earthquake faults. When seismic energy hits these fault zones, it fractures the rock at these pipelines. It fractures the rock at these pipelines that pull steam from the volcano. These are man-made earthquake faults. That's why we have so many earthquakes around the geysers facility. Normally the geysers have 20 to 30 earthquakes here every day. Constantly. Every day. Again, that is because men have dug into the upper magma chambers of the Clear Lake volcano right here to provide steam for the turbines to manufacture electricity. That's what has happened here. That is what's happened here. I think a week and a half ago, the geysers area had a 4.5 earthquake. A 4.5 moderate earthquake. We've only seen 2 of those in the last 6 years that I've been doing this program. April 3rd will be 6 years that I've been doing this program. Okay? Unreal. Then we come up here. The southern area of the Cascadia subduction zone. The southern area of the Cascadia subduction zone. Just a few weeks ago we had a major earthquake here. Just a few weeks ago we had a major 7+ earthquake here. All the earthquakes here now are aftershocks of that quake. This is a 1.0 tremor. This is a 1.9 2.0 earthquake. 1.9 2.0 earthquake and a 1.0 tremor here. Okay? It's right here in the Triple Junction area. Right here in the Triple Junction area. It's actually on the Gorda Escarpment here. The earthquake fault running from the coast of California all the way 250 miles out in the Pacific. Where it connects here with the Cascadia subduction zone and the San Andreas Fault here is called the triple junction. It's called the triple junction. That is why the San Andreas Fault will be triggered when the Cascadia megathrust earthquake happens. That's why the San Andreas Fault will be triggered. And the Cascadia earthquake will be felt all the way down to northern Mexico and across the entire North American continent, west-east. Okay? Now, just for kicks and giggles, let's go over here to Washington and Oregon. Up here in the Puget Sound area, Jamestown, Washington, a 1.8 tremor. Jamestown, Washington, here in the Puget Sound area, got hit today. Right there. We come south. This is Falls City, Washington. Falls City, Washington. This is a volcanic area and it's constantly being hit with earthquakes. I believe that magma is down beneath the ground near Falls City causing these earthquakes. 1.92.0 earthquake here. We go west. Belfair, Washington. 1.1 tremor here. Further west. Darn it. Darn it, darn it, darn it. We'll come back here in just a second, guys. USGS does this to me too many times. I end up having to take the map down and reinstall it. Give me a second here. This happens almost every time I use this map. That's why I'm going to eliminate this map and bring up another map very soon. At least we'll be able to show you the earthquakes around the world and realistically all over. All over. Okay? Let's go back here to the Pacific Northwest. Then I'll go around the world with you. Okay, I was about to show you this earthquake here. This is 1.3 in Amanda Park, Washington. A 1.3 tremor in Amanda Park, Washington. But the thing you need to know, we have another volcano right here. This is Olympic Mountain. Chica Peak, a volcano right here. This is the western foothills of the Chica Peak volcano, a 1.3 tremor here. Further south here is a 2.4 earthquake here. Neilton, Washington. Neilton, Washington. It's also in the foothills of the Chica Peak volcano. But it's right smack dab in the way of the Cascadia fault zone. The Cascadia fault zone. Okay? Yes, the Cascadia subduction zone is offshore. But right here along the coast is part of the Cascadia fault zone. The Cascadia fault zone. Okay? Now, you're not seeing any earthquakes here at Mount Rainier. That's a fallacy. By not showing any earthquakes here at Mount Rainier, the USPS is lying to us again. There are earthquakes here. There are tremors, there are minor earthquakes, and small earthquakes here at Mount Rainier today. But again, they're not going to show them to us because heaven forbid that we find out what's really happening. Further south here, this is 6 kilometers, 3 miles southwest of Morton, Washington. 1.5 tremor here. But notice it is north of Mount St. Helens. North of Mount St. Helens. There are plenty of earthquakes today here at Mount St. Helens. But again, they're not going to show you all, or any of us, all of the earthquakes here. They're taking the name of the agency in their own hands. They're showing us 2 tiny seismic events here. This is a 0.1 microquake. The 0.1 microquake up here at the summit of Mount St. Helens. This here is a 0.6 microquake here at the summit of Mount St. Helens. What they're not telling us is we have microquakes, we have tremors, and we have small earthquakes hitting Mount St. Helens all over the place. Mount St. Helens and Mount Rainier are getting ready to erupt. Mount St. Helens and Mount Rainier are getting ready to erupt. USGS not talking about it. They don't want to talk about it, nor will they. This was exhibited back before 1980 when Mount St. Helens first erupted. Erupted during our lifetime. Mount St. Helens erupted a lot before that. But USGS is not going to talk. Heaven forbid they tell us the truth. Not going to happen. They just don't do it. They just plain don't do it. They're not showing anything here at Mount Hood. Not showing anything at Mount Hood. They're not showing anything down here at Mount Bachelor. They're not showing anything of the Sisters volcanic complex here. Sisters have 3 volcanoes. The Sisters complex here is 3 volcanoes, monitored just by 1 seismograph. 1 seismograph here. We have an earthquake here. This is Lapine, Oregon. This is a 0.1 microquake. 0.1 microquake here. Now, folks, there are all kinds of earthquakes all over Oregon and Washington they're not going to talk about. Heaven forbid. Heaven forbid. Let's go up to Alaska here. You guys want to take a trip to Alaska? Let's go over here to the to the southeastern or southwestern side of the Alaska Peninsula. Over here on the Aleutian Island Fault Zone, we have a 5.0 earthquake hit that hit here. This hit at 6:55 a.m. Eastern Time today. 6:55 a.m. Eastern Time today. Also here, we have an aftershock. This is a 4.4 moderate earthquake here. An aftershock from this large 5.0 earthquake that struck here just after 6 a.m. this morning. Actually, not just right after, but it was right before 7 o'clock, actually. 6:55 a.m. this morning, Eastern Time. Let's go over to the western side of the Pacific now. I want to take you over here to Japan. Right here. West of Hokkaido. Hokkaido is that kind of almost square island here, the northernmost island of Japan. That's Hokkaido. Out here in the western Sea of Japan. Actually, the northwestern Sea of Japan. This is a 4.0 earthquake here. 183 kilometers west-northwest of Tsuchu, Japan. Tsuchu, Japan. 4-point moderate earthquake here. They're not showing any other earthquakes here in Japan, but there are. They're over here on the east side of Japan, and we also have an earthquake right here. This is a 4.4 earthquake here. Now, if you remember, a few weeks ago, we had a violent 6 point, I don't remember exactly how strong it was, but it was at least a 6.0 plus earthquake here. 6.0, very strong earthquake here. It hit land here. It hit land. Today here we have a 4.4. 4.4 moderate earthquake here. It's off in the ocean. It's off in the ocean. Nobody felt this quake. Nobody felt this quake. The 6.3 or whatever it was over here in the middle of this town here. Right smack dab here in the middle of this town. Linda Covington says scientists didn't do a very good job of notifying people about Mount St. Helens. No, they did not. In fact, they put up warnings and evacuated people around the mountain. Then some of the seismic energy started to calm down, so they allowed people to come back in. What was the problem with that? The problem was within days, the seismic energy increased, and we haven't had an eruption at Mount St. Helens that killed 53 people. USGS should never have allowed people into Mount St. Helens again. Not until after the eruption was over. And I believe USGS knew it was going to happen. I believe USGS knew it was going to happen. Okay? That's one of my beefs with the BS of USGS. I don't like them. I don't like them at all. Over here in Taiwan, we have more earthquakes here. If you remember, a very large earthquake hit here last week. A very large earthquake hit here last week. Now we're seeing aftershocks. This is a 4.3 earthquake hit here. Okay? Just east of the city where that big, huge earthquake hit here in Taiwan. And yes, there was damage. There were some people who were killed. There were people injured here in Taiwan. These earthquakes are not that dangerous. This is a 4.2. A 4.2 that hit here this evening here. This hit here at 7:14 p.m. Eastern Time here in Taiwan. Eastern Time here in the United States. That was at 7:14. This happened here at 14:42, 2:42 Eastern Time here in the United States. Both of these moderate earthquakes, this is a 4.3, and this is a 4.2. Aftershocks of that very strong earthquake that hit here a couple weeks ago. South of there, this is a large earthquake here. I'm going to open this up for you to enlarge the map. This was out in the southern part of the Sea of China Sea, South China Sea. This is a large 5.1 earthquake. Nobody felt this. Nobody felt this. The ocean waters absorbed the shockwaves of this quake. South China Sea here, a 5.0 earthquake that hit at 1:48 Eastern Time here in the United States. I get notified every time we have an earthquake. Anywhere. Now I'm coming down here. Okay? This is Ternate, Indonesia. We have a 5.0 earthquake here. This was downgraded to 4.9. We had a 5.0 earthquake over here, and this was absorbed by the seawater here. I don't remember whether this is a Bismarck Sea, but this is a sea here in Indonesia. The ocean waters absorbed the shockwaves of this 5.0 large earthquake here today. This happened after 6:16 a.m. this morning, Eastern Time. This is also 48 kilometers deep. Fairly shallow quake. Fairly shallow earthquake here in Indonesia. Okay? But I want to go over here. I want to show you what's going on here. This is over near Guam. This is 29 kilometers west of Guam. Guam is a territory of the United States. Guam has a United States Navy base here in Guam. This is offshore from the military base. 29 kilometers west of the military base. This is a 5.5 large earthquake. A 5.5 dangerous earthquake. Mid-range 5 here. I call it dangerous because 5.5 earthquakes can kill people. However, this is out in the ocean. This is out in the Pacific Ocean. Nobody felt this quake. Nobody felt this quake. They may have felt some rumbling over here at the Navy base, but I think that's just about all. They may have felt some rumbling here at the Navy base, but I think that's just about all. This whole area is a Navy base, guys. Naval Base Guam here. Just so you know. This is west of Guam. Yes, we have earthquakes up and down the Mariana Trench. Notice where this earthquake is. This is the Mariana Trench here. Where does this trench go to? Right down here to Indonesia. Right down here in Indonesia. It's Mariana Trench is one of the deepest earthquake fault trenches in the world. It's one of the deepest earthquake trenches in the world. Why is that? Why do we have an earthquake fault here? We have we have 7 different tectonic plates here. 7 different tectonic plates reaching from Japan all the way down here into Indonesia, Australia, right here, and over here into the islands of the Pacific here. 7 different tectonic plates, 1 plate subducting under the other here. This is one of the largest subduction zones in the world. One of the largest subduction zones in the world. Over here in Papua New Guinea. Right here. This is a 5.3 earthquake here. 176 kilometers southeast of Lorengau, Papua New Guinea. Again, the ocean waters absorb the shock waves of this quake. Again, look where this earthquake is. It's on the edge of the plate here. This earthquake fault is one of the edges of the plate. All the way over here to the east, still in Papua New Guinea. This is a 5.5 earthquake. A 5.5 earthquake. This hit at 6:15 this morning. 6:15 this morning. 5.5, very large earthquake here. 10 kilometers deep. 6.2 miles deep. Right next to it. This is a foreshock. This is a 4.8 foreshock. This earthquake hit here at 5:57 a.m. Eastern Time. Large earthquake, 5.5, hit here at 6:15. 6:15. The time difference here, 5:57, and 18 minutes later. 18 minutes later, the 5.5 hit. Foreshock. And that's a rather large foreshock. It's a 4.8 moderate earthquake. Papua New Guinea. Let's go further east. Again, look where this earthquake is here. It's Angle, Vanuatu. We had a major earthquake strike here in Angle, Vanuatu, just about a month ago, just north of here. Actually, it wasn't Angle, it was Villa, Vanuatu. Very strong earthquake. I considered it a major earthquake because USGS said it was only 6.8, and I believe it was at least a 7.2. This is East Angle, Vanuatu here. This is a 5.0 earthquake. This is 209 kilometers deep. Still a fairly shallow earthquake by standards. 209 kilometers deep. We go further east, up here, Wabuka, Fiji. This is a 4.7 moderate earthquake here. But the difference here is this earthquake is deep. This is 545 kilometers deep. 545 kilometers deep. Deep earthquakes propagate larger, shallower quakes. Deep earthquakes propagate larger, shallower quakes. Now, folks, we have some deep earthquakes here, not just this one. This 4.7 here is going to propagate a 5.3 earthquake. This earthquake is going to is going to make a stronger, more shallow quake. Promulgate a more shallow, stronger quake. A 5.3 earthquake. We go south here. This is a 4.2. Folks, this is even deeper. This is 602 kilometers deep. This 4.2 earthquake is going to propagate a 5.1, 5.2 large earthquake. Both of these earthquakes that I've talked about now are going to propagate stronger, shallower quakes sometime within the next 72 hours to 10 days. Sometime within the next 72 hours to 10 days, we're going to see stronger earthquakes in this general area. Between Papua New Guinea, Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, and the Fiji Islands, and possibly even Tonga. Possibly even Tonga. Let's go further south. This is south of the Fiji Islands here. This is a much stronger quake. This is a 4.8. This is still a fairly deep earthquake, 539 kilometers deep. This is going to propagate a possible 5.5 earthquake. This 4.8 is going to make upwards of a 5.5 magnitude earthquake, large earthquake. Again, deeper earthquakes propagate stronger, shallower quakes. So again, sometime within the next 3 to 10 days, we're going to have a very large earthquake in this area. Go further south. This also is south of the Fiji Islands. Look where these earthquakes are. Look where these earthquakes are. 4 of these earthquakes are on a huge fault zone, the Fiji Trench. They're on the Fiji Trench. This is a 4.8. This is 280 kilometers deep. This is just barely moderately deep. This is barely moderately deep. We go further south. Now we're on the Tongan Trench. But this is in the Kermadec Islands north of New Zealand. The Kermadec Islands north of New Zealand. This is a 4.8 earthquake as well. On the the Tongan Trench in the Kermadec Islands. The Kermadec Islands, for those of you that are new to the show, the Kermadec Islands are unoccupied islands. Not occupied by human beings anyway. They are a bird sanctuary. The Kermadec Islands are a bird sanctuary. The only time men come out here is to check on the birds, only at high tide. Why is that? Because, guys, the water around here in the Kermadec Islands is fairly shallow. If these mariners were to come over here to the Kermadec Islands at low tide, their boats would meet up with volcanic rock hidden beneath the surface. And all of a sudden, those ships would go down. That is why the scientists here that study these islands, birds here, come in only at high tide, when they know that it's safe to go over here to the Kermadec Islands. Okay? But again, this earthquake is on another huge Tongan Trench. A very deep earthquake fault here. Both these faults go into the North Island of New Zealand. The Fiji Trench goes over here, right smack dab through the middle of the North Island. The Tongan Trench goes to the outside of the North Island of New Zealand. Now, they are not showing any earthquakes here. There are 14 earthquakes here in New Zealand. Earthquakes ranging in size from 2.7 all the way up to 4.7. Yes, there was a 4.7 earthquake down here, right between the North and South Island, right here. Right down here today. Right between the North and South Island of New Zealand. A 4.7 earthquake here. This is considered the Cook Strait. The Cook Strait here. A 4.7 earthquake here. That's normal. That's normal. All the other earthquakes stretching from the very south end, the South Island down here, and what they call South Park. This is South Park, New Zealand. Down here we have a I believe it's 2.85 and a 3.2 here. And then I believe we have a couple other small quakes up here on the north part of the South Island here. Now, folks, where do you think Christchurch, New Zealand is? Where do you think Christchurch, New Zealand is? Christchurch had a major earthquake here a lot of years ago. Christchurch earthquake killed a lot of people. Killed a lot of people. It actually redesigned the city of Christchurch. Right here. Right there is Christchurch, New Zealand. Major earthquake several years back. Many years back. Anyway, over here on the east side of the North Island, scientists have been saying that New Zealand is going to experience an 8.0 earthquake here. An 8.0 subduction earthquake right here. Right off the coast of New Zealand here, off the North Island. An 8.0 earthquake is going to hit here sometime in the next 50 years. I believe that earthquake is probably going to be hitting here within the next 25 years. Why do I say that? Because we have earthquakes hitting here now that USGS is not telling us about. USGS is not telling us about it at all. That's the hard facts. That's the hard facts. Let's go over here. Right up here in northeastern India. This is a 4.4 moderate earthquake here. Up here. Folks, this is over here in southern Iran. Southern Iran. This is a 4.2 earthquake here. Before we go any further, I'm going to take us down here into Ethiopia. Ethiopia is continuing to have earthquakes here. Again, the USGS is not showing us all the earthquakes. This is the East Rift Zone here in Ethiopia. This is a 4.7 moderate earthquake. They have anywhere from 3.5 to 4.9 earthquakes here every day. From 3.5 to 4.9 earthquakes. 4.9 is considered to be a moderate earthquake, but on the high 4-point scale. When I see a 4.9, I think it's a large earthquake. Why? Because when USGS says a 4.9 earthquake, I consider the 0.9 society. The USGS downgrades all the quakes to the nearest 0.9. So when I see a 0.9, I think, oh, it's just another attempt by USGS to hide a large earthquake. And most of the time, I'm right. But this is in a very delicate area. It's in a very delicate area. Look where it's at. It's right on top of a huge rift zone. A huge rift zone. It's an earthquake fault. A major earthquake fault. Guys, All these earthquakes are contributing to splitting Africa in parts. All these earthquakes are eventually going to lead to this area of Africa to be split off from Africa, a new continent, possibly a new continent. Is it going to happen anytime soon? We don't know. But we have just been having 6.0 earthquakes down to 4.4 earthquakes here every day. The last 6.0 plus earthquake happened here a few weeks ago. Since then, we've been having moderate and small earthquakes here every day, many of them. And again, they're not showing all the earthquakes either. I know of at least 4 earthquakes that have happened here today. 4 earthquakes have happened here in Ethiopia today. And USGS only shows us 1. Yes, there's a volcano also here as well. Right there. There's a volcano here as well. Yes, there is magma down beneath the surface. Unreal. That's Africa, guys. That's Africa. Excuse me. Further south in the Congo, we've had earthquakes there. That is the southern part of the rift zone. The Congo is the southern part of the rift zone, but it is splitting. It's going to split that continent in part. Okay? Now let's continue this discussion here. USGS is still not showing us all the earthquakes here. They just don't do it. It's not their nature. They don't do it. Now, I'm going to take you over here. You might know why I'm going to take you here too. Right here. This is the East Turkey-Syrian border. East Turkey-Syrian border. We have a lot of earthquakes here that they're not showing. There's about 18 earthquakes here that they're not showing us. They range in size from 4.2 down to 0.1 microquake. From 4.2 moderate earthquakes down to 0.1 microquakes here. Why? All the earthquakes that hit in this region through here, they're due to a major earthquake that hit here a few years ago. Okay? Back in February of 2023. February 23rd, 2023, there was an 8.9 to a 10.0 earthquake that hit here. And usually I refer to it as a 9.0 to 10.0 earthquake. Huge earthquake here. It killed 5,000 people and injured over 500 others. It devastated this region. Countries from around the world contributed to food and supplies for these people and to help the people find their dead and bury their dead here. Major earthquake hit here. It also opened up a 14-mile-long fissure. Does that sound normal? Does that sound normal? It is. Every time we have a major earthquake, the major earthquake contributes to a 14-mile-long trench. A 14-mile-long fissure opened up here. Enough to fit an 18-story building down inside the fissure. 14 miles long. Where else did that happen? I'm going to show you that in a minute. Let's go further to the west here. Right over here. Northeastern Turkey. Northeastern Turkey right here. Folks, this is Bayram, Turkey. This is a large earthquake here, a 5.0 large earthquake here. The problem with that, look at all these islands here. All these islands are also having earthquakes. These islands belong to Greece. These are the Dokinis Islands here. They also have earthquakes here today. And unfortunately, USGS is not showing any of them. There are earthquakes all over Western Turkey here as well. all over western Turkey here as well. In northern Turkey, and southern Turkey as well. There's probably a total of 18 earthquakes here in Turkey by itself. By itself. They're not showing any earthquakes in Greece or the Dokanese Islands that belong to Greece here. They're also not showing any earthquakes over here near Crete. Remember this island here? Made by a volcano down here to the southeast here? It's still there. Crete and the area around Crete is still having earthquakes here. Quite a few. And again, USGS is not showing any of them. They're not showing any earthquakes here in Romania. They're not showing any earthquakes in Poland, Belarus, Russia. They're not showing any earthquakes over here in Germany, France, Spain. They're not showing any earthquakes here in Italy. Central Italy is having 20 earthquakes here today. But most of those earthquakes are all tremors. Most of those earthquakes here in central Italy are all tremors. However, down here along the coast, Fligri, Italy, I should say. Fligri, Italy. We have a volcano that's about to go off. They've evacuated Fligri for the most part. Yes, there's only a handful of people left here. But they believe that volcano is about to explode. Okay? Quite a few earthquakes here today. And again, we have a volcano that's about to go. And USGS doesn't give a flying rat's butt. When that volcano goes, it's going to kill a lot of people and injure a lot of others. Will USGS report on it? I doubt it. I highly doubt it. Over here in the French Alps, the French, Italian, and Swiss Alps, they're not showing any tremors or quakes here. There are. There are. Germany, Switzerland here, and France, not showing any earthquakes, but there are. Down here in Spain, there are a handful of earthquakes here in Spain. But again, they're not showing anything. Heaven forbid they would take responsibility to show us exactly what's happening. They're not. They don't care. Earthquakes over here in Iceland. Earthquakes over here in Iceland. There are a lot of earthquakes here. They're not telling anybody about it. I believe we're about to have another volcanic eruption here in Iceland. I believe we're about to have another volcano erupt here in Iceland right about in here. Right about in here. This is the northern part of Iceland right alongside the Mid-Atlantic Fault here. Right alongside the Mid-Atlantic Fault here. Right there. See what I'm talking about? I believe the volcanism that's been happening down to the south here is pushing north. I believe it's pushing north through the rock. And we're soon to have another volcanic eruption right about in here. Okay? Just so you know. Now, does anybody have any questions about anything we've talked about so far? I love what Don Patoka just said just a minute ago here in the chat. Willful ignorance is refusing to witness or vet the actual issue. Where do you think that's coming from? The USBS. The bliss of naivete. The bliss of naivete. Us not knowing what's going on. That's why I'm here to tell you about it. I want to give you the knowledge that you need to have to protect you and your family. That's what we do here. We give everybody the knowledge you need to protect your family. Why? Because I believe that blissful ignorance is not good. I don't want anybody hurt. Yes, I know that people are going to get hurt when these quakes hit. I know people are going to get hurt when the volcanic eruptions happen. But if we give out the information, maybe we can save some lives here. Maybe we can save some lives here. Okay? Arnold Smith said here in the chat just a few minutes ago, Brother Brian reported a sonar buoy in the North Pacific near Alaska that registered ocean floor movement of a meter or more. Yeah. Yes, it did happen. It absolutely did happen. Is it going to continue? Probably. Why are they not reporting it? Because they don't want people to recognize it. They're hoping people will ignore it. Actual lifting of the ocean floor. Movement. Seismic movement, guys. Seismic movement. That's why we have ocean buoys out there. To help detect the seismic movement. Unreal. Linda Covington says it's getting late, time for night-in. I agree. Please stick around for another couple minutes here. And I mean a couple minutes. Okay? Let me pull this earthquake map down. They're showing one earthquake in South America when there are 18 earthquakes here in South America. Right here near Oligay, Chile, northern Chile. A 4.7 earthquake here. There are 2 earthquakes in the mid-Atlantic. One down here in the southern mid-Atlantic, a 5.5 earthquake here. Where else did we have a 5.5? Over in Papua New Guinea. This happened at 1:05 this morning, 5 hours before the Papua New Guinea earthquake hit. This one is in the mid-Atlantic between Africa and South America. Over here in the central mid-Atlantic, this is the 4.95.0 earthquake here. This happened at 8:32 a.m. Eastern Time. 2 large earthquakes here in the mid-Atlantic. That means the mid-Atlantic is expanding even more. Large earthquakes here in the mid-Atlantic means the mid-Atlantic is expanding more, pushing South America in a westerly direction and pushing Africa in a easterly direction. That's what's going on here. Okay, let's get out of this earthquake map. I want to talk to you for a minute before we get out of here. Okay. It's getting cold. Already southern Texas and Louisiana have been buried in some snow. Mississippi. Just a second, guys. Just a second. Okay. It's my son calling my wife and I. My son lives in northern Utah. You may have seen him here on our chat sometimes. He's a great man. He's a very great man. But I'll get talking to him in a few minutes here. We've told you about a bunch of earthquakes that have happened. A lot of earthquakes. Huge amount of earthquakes. But again, the agency's not going to talk about them. We've had some cold here in the United States. The cold came out of the Gulf of Alaska, coming out of Canada too, and coming down in here to the southern reaches of the U.S. Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, northern Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, now North Carolina, and all the way up the coast. A huge cold snap. Huge cold snap. Guys, we're going to get down to 7 degrees for the next few days. We're going to get down to 7 degrees for the next few days. I don't think we're going to get up more than 20, 23 degrees during the daytime highs. Okay? I just don't think we're going to do that before the end of the week. Okay? But severe cold is going to happen. Why am I talking about it? Again, we want to save some lives here. We need to save some lives here. Canadian Patriot 1 says it's been colder than his ex-wife's heartbeat up here for a few days now. Yeah, I hear that. But guys, it's going to be miserably cold. I'm asking you all to take precautions. I'm asking you all to take precautions. A lot of precautions. What am I talking about? I need you to be prepared. I need you to be prepared. If you go outside at all, only go outside for a very few minutes. Your flesh on your face can freeze within 10 minutes. Your flesh on your face can freeze within 10 minutes. I'm talking about being prepared one step at a time. Vaughn J. Featherstone said this, I bear my humble witness to you that the great God of heaven will open doors and means in a way we never would have supposed to help all those who truly want to get a year's supply. Talking about a year's supply of food. A few suggestions. You need to ask yourself these questions. What do I use daily that might be hard to purchase in time of need? What do I need to have that might be hard to purchase in time of need? Second, what do I need to be able to use my stored food and water? What do I need to be able to use my stored food and water? What else might happen? Because of this very cold storm we have going through, we may face a power grid problem. We may face a grid down problem. With these cold temperatures, power lines can snap. The wind that we're also going to be getting with this storm may also help to snap the power lines with the tree limbs blowing around. So we may face a power outage. You need to have a first aid kit. You need to have your medicine, your contacts, your eyeglasses. You need to have latex gloves. You need to have a manual can opener. You need to have toilet paper. You need to have detergent, cleaning supplies. You need to consider personal hygiene items, feminine hygiene items, baby supplies, board games, books, and puzzles to keep everybody occupied. And don't forget your pets. Toys and beds for your pets, and also sweaters and jackets for your pets, and also warm beds for your pets. Don't make them sleep on the floor. Do not make your pets sleep on the floor. Get them up off the floor so they'll survive what's going to happen. You also really need to think about a ham radio. We talked about ham radios on these programs before. We're talking ham radios again to be able to communicate. Family Radio Service, GMRS, General Mobile Radio Service, walkie-talkies as well. Crank or battery-powered radio. Crank or battery-powered radio. I showed you my battery-powered radio, and it's got a hand crank on the side of it as well. You need to really consider an AM/FM weather radio. You need to have a chainsaw. Why? may need to cut up tree limbs. You may need to cut up tree limbs that fall in your yard or fall in your cars. You could also use those tree limbs as kindling and start a fire in your fireplace to stay warm. Tools to turn off your utilities. Tools to turn off your utilities. Consider this. We talked about that before. Matches and lighters. Matches and lighters, folks. Sleeping bags and blankets. Utility knives. Garbage bags. Flashlights. Batteries. Batteries for your flashlights and batteries for your radios. How about tarps, ladies and gentlemen? Tarps. To help protect your house and to help protect you and your family. Consider all of these. This is just a small list. This is only a very small list to have. There's a lot more. We've talked about this before. We nearly could have a real problem here. Or we very much might. That's why we're talking about it. We already have this storm happening. It could get a lot worse. It could get a lot worse. Be prepared, one step at a time. Be prepared, one step at a time. Lastly, I want to give you a spiritual thought that comes from LDS President Nelson, Russell M. Nelson. In the coming days, we may see the greatest manifestations of the Savior's power that the world has ever seen. In the coming days, we may see the greatest manifestations of the Savior's power that this world has ever seen. Are you prepared for that? Have you been praying? Are you getting prepared for the Savior's second return, His second coming? You need to be very concerned about this. We need to be very concerned. We want to be prepared for the Savior's second coming. And I promise you, He will be here. Really need to consider this, guys. I'm very serious. Linda Covington says she's going to need a U-Haul to haul in her stuff. Yeah, you might need that to get all the things you're going to need to be prepared. But we need to get prepared now. We all need to be prepared now, guys. It's not going to get any better for a while. Linda Covington says don't forget a hoodie as well. Yes. A hoodie just to start with. You're going to need a full-blown winter coat. Boots, mittens instead of gloves. Hats to keep your body warm, keeping your head warm. Please consider that, guys. Arnold Smith is saying, remember, folks, minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit equates to minus 40 degrees centigrade, below zero. This is highly lethal weather. Highly lethal weather conditions. Don't even think about stepping outside for more than just a few minutes. 10 minutes you can freeze the flesh on your face. Consider that. Even to take out the garbage, don't stay outside for very long. You can slip, fall, knock yourself out, and then it would be all over. Please take care of yourself. Be in tune with the Savior. Be in tune with the Savior. Pray. Pray like your life depends on it, because it does. It truly does. Now, folks, I love you. I love you very much. That's why we're talking about this. Please be safe. Canadian Patriot 1 saying insulated storage sheds to store your extra preps. Absolutely. You need that. You really need that. Be considerate in your efforts. Okay? That will save your life. Don Patokas put a lot of things here in the chat that everyone needs to think about. Take heed. Copy and paste it into your own files on your computer. And save it into the preparedness files. That way you can use it. That way you can use it. S. Nort says, I have my Dad's Army parka when he was stationed in northern Canada. That's awesome. I have my Air Force parka here, and Carol has one as well. So we're ready. Guys, I love you. I care about you more than anything now. May God bless you. God protect you. If anything happens tonight, we'll be back on the air to tell you about it either tonight or tomorrow morning. Other than that, we will be back here at just after 6 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow night for another episode of Emergency Management Associates, talking about earthquakes in Southern California. May God bless you. May God be with you this day and always. May God be with you until we meet again. Have a good night, folks. Take care. Enjoy your evening. Be safe and love each other. God bless. Good night, everybody. Much love.